Hey family, I'm here with Dr. Whitt this morning. Met him last year, him and his lovely wife, and they were such a valuable tool to me as I stepped into this position. And so this morning, Dr. Whitt is going to tell us a little bit about himself and how he got involved with KAA. So Dr. Whitt, tell us about yourself.
Good morning. My name is Steve Whitt. I work at the University of Missouri, and I was trained here. I moved here to go to medical school years ago, and fell in love, got married, have children, and we've been here for now well over 30 years. I grew up on the West Coast. Bakersfield, California is actually where I went to high school. I'm infectious diseases trained, internal medicine trained, critical care trained, and neurocritical care trained. That's my several specialties. I'm the chief medical officer here at the University of Missouri, where I spend about 3/4 of my time now in the last several years being the chief doctor, so to speak. It's all the training programs are in my shop, along with all the clinical programs. It's a really busy, really fulfilling, really satisfying, occasionally frustrating role.
Wow.
I am blessed. My wife Sarah is a nurse, and she worked up until our 5th child was born 11 years ago.
Wow.
So for the last 11 years, she's been. When we hit the 5th one, it was too much daycare, too much running around for us both to be working, and so she's been home. We bought a farm. We both grew up in the country, sort of.
Wow.
We bought a farm almost 15 years ago, right before our second to last one was born. Literally about a month before our second to last one was born. She didn't do a lot of help moving. And we have been living out there about 30 minutes away from the university. And we have cattle and corn and
Oh, wow.
and soybeans and hay and all the stuff that goes with it.
My gosh.
A lot of fences to fix, and it's there's not a lot of downtime in our lives, but that's good.
Wow. Yeah, I bet there really is not a lot of downtime. You're over infectious diseases and then you go home to a farm. Wow.
So during COVID, it's been particularly challenging, I would tell you.
Yeah, gosh. So how did you get involved with KAA, and how long have you been coming as one of our doctors here?
I started when my oldest was 9, so that would be, she'll be 28. So 19 years.
Wow.
Is that the right math?
Yeah.
19 years ago, our children were young, and a friend of ours, my son's best friend, he was 7 at the time. His best friend's mom was a nurse here at the university also, and we were talking at some function, Cub Scouts or Boy Scouts or something when they were 7, and she said, "Have you ever heard of KAA?" Nope.
Wow.
Do your kids go to Kanakuk? What's Kanakuk? And my wife knew what it was because her dad was actually friends with Spike.
Okay. Wow.
Spike Whitt, and she's from Aurora, Missouri, and he did my wife's dad, Vern.
Okay.
Vern Hunter did a lot of the kind of publications for Kanakuk back then because he was a manager at a printing company.
That's neat.
And so she said, "Oh yeah, I know about Kanakuk. I've been there with my dad a few times when she was talking business with Spike." So we sent our kids down, and she said, "And you, while the kids are down there at Kanakuk, you should consider volunteering at KAA." So that very year we did, and we have been. It's the hardest, most restful work. I spent a week down there working pretty hard. I'm usually the only doctor. I think I had help maybe 2 years.
Wow.
And lots of rashes, lots of good stuff for an infectious disease doctor. Lots of rashes and fevers and allergies and fake stuff.
Yeah.
Emotional stuff, which my wife was really good at.
Yeah, she's great.
And then and then some broken bones, and at the end of that, working really hard that week, you feel very what I would call spiritually refreshed, like you're ready to rip. Full up, and although you're physically tired, you're ready to get back to your regular job. So.
Wow, that is really cool. And So you've been coming a while, so you've seen lots of things. Were you here when the year of the H1N1 when it broke out? I think that was 2009. I
Yes,
can't remember.
I was.
You
Yep.
Oh my gosh, crazy, crazy, crazy. And so you kicked in with your infectious disease, I'm sure, of what to do, how to help us out.
Yeah, it's very handy. I think you're a one, two, three. You're my fourth health
Yeah,
professional, something like that. All been great people.
I know. This position has been hard to keep someone here. And
It's
so
hard work.
yeah, it was hard work. And so I told someone, I said, I plan to be here for the long haul. And so prayerfully I will be.
Good.
So what has been a challenge in those 18 years of you coming, 19 years? 19.
Some of the challenge has been, I think it's been 5 or 6 years ago, but it seemed that it was that there was difficulty finding good people to come down and dedicate a whole week. That's a lot to ask of people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And no pay for most of us, that kind of thing. And I think it was really difficult to find people who were willing to come down.
Yeah.
The good news is the last couple of years, I think with your leadership and others, actually it's been, oh no, you're actually spared this year. We don't need you if you don't have the time to come. And I say, well, I'd like to come anyway. And then they stick me in a week with nobody else in it, which is fine. But that was a little bit depressing. I would leave on a Saturday morning and find out that there was not going to be a doctor the next week. And I would be happy to take phone calls and things from people when they needed to from afar.
Yeah.
But that has not been, it's been 4 or 5 years now where it seems like the place is where the medical community is pouring back into KA.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think you need to grab something there. No.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think that's true, and I think Betty has really helped build that up with doctors, and so I didn't have a whole lot. She helped me a lot last year get those doctors, so I was really grateful for that. And so that was a challenge. And so, what has been a highlight for you and your family? What you would say?
The highlight is always the kids. I mean,
Yeah.
It's always the kids. So the staff is also amazing. It's a place where I can take my own kids, and we have role models from every race, creed, almost every form of Christianity, and you can see the kids' minds, my kids' minds, and the campers' minds kind of turning, and the wheels turning, and perspectives changing, and
that's really good.
Whole new direction in life for a lot of them. So that's what I get out of camp anyway, is that kind of re-emerging faith and humanity, so to speak. So
yeah, with all people together, I see it as the wall of hostility is torn down, and so all of us are here together,
right.
serving and enjoying camp. And so so I'm trying to think of a good. I don't want to ask you what a typical week is like, because you kind of told us that, because you're just serving those broken bones and all that good stuff. But so is there a particular time that you can remember you went, man, this was really great?
Oh yeah. There's a story that's you probably even heard. I don't know, but it was a long time ago. There was a couple of counselors and workers. There's also lots of volunteers. There's the house maintenance people and the grounds crew, and I mean, it's just amazing how many people you get from everywhere. And there were a couple of volunteers, and they were driving to Branson or someplace for supplies, and on the way back, the young man, he was probably 17, 18, something like that, had trouble seeing.
Oh, wow.
And he was such a jokester and so funny and bubbly that he was laughing and joking about it the whole time.
Wow.
And they drove right into the doctor's office and called me and said, this guy's having trouble seeing. And while we were having the discussion, he was so goofy and giggly that I thought, oh, what's going on? But when I tested him and examined him, he could not see out of both over here or over here. He had totally lost, for real, he had lost his vision.
Wow.
And so I thought he probably had a problem with his optic, what we call his optic chiasm up. And so I sent him to Branson for a MRI and to see a neurosurgeon, and he'd had a bleed in his head.
Wow.
And because KAA makes sure that we have medical people there, he went to neurosurgery that day, and to this day he is fine.
Wow.
And it could have been a real disaster. So
Yeah.
that's one of the things that has always stuck out in my head about that we actually go down there and serve, and it's actually useful. So,
Yes. Well, I had not heard that story, but man, thanks be to God you were here. And so Dr. Whitt, we are so grateful for your years of service as one of our doctors continuing to come down. I hope to see you year after year after year. I don't plan to go anywhere,
that's neat.
but I'm really grateful for you. And so real quickly, for the last 5 or 10 minutes here, I'm just going to ask you about Corona in your area, what's been going on. And I can tell you've had a lot going on. And so especially been over infectious diseases, and wow. So tell us a little bit about Corona, what's happening in your area, how you are you on the front lines, what are you having to do to deal with it, and all of that.
Yeah, I was in the ICU a couple of weeks ago, working in the ICU. We've not been as hard hit here as many places in the country, but since we've been opening up kind of businesses and young people feel invincible, the cases are certainly not fading.
Now, what city are you in, Dr. Whitt?
Columbia,
Columbia.
Missouri. Yeah,
Okay.
Columbia, Jefferson City.
Okay.
It's so, for instance, yesterday we had 20 new cases, not admitted to the hospital. So we have just a handful. We go between about 6 and about 12 cases up and down over time. But it's the real thing. It's totally non-serious for so many people, but it's so serious for some others. And it's hard for people to believe unless they know somebody who's been hard hit about all of this stuff that's been going on. Is not fake. It's not something that people made up. It's something that you need to take seriously, not necessarily even for yourself, but for others.
Others, yeah, yeah. And so, with your infectious disease there at the university, are you having to teach people how to deal with it and stuff like that? What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, we do a little bit of one-on-one teaching medical students, nurses like that, but my job is mostly institutional. So I've been working with the University of Missouri with, they got 40,000 students coming back this fall. How do you do that safely? I've been working with the state. I'm on the governor's task force for how do we reopen businesses safely and all that kind of stuff. And then the Southeast Conference, which Mizzou is part of, the SEC, I sit on their task force for how to bring back the athletes safely and then how to bring back the students safely later this summer. And there is there's so much legend and lore and nonsense, but also so much stuff that's real and needs to happen. It's hard for people without lots of expertise to really sort out what should we or should we not be doing.
Yeah, and so you're really having to get some input into a lot of different places so people can make good decisions concerning the health of a lot of people. And so
a lot of people, and sometimes leaders are forced to do things that aren't necessarily very, very scientific, but it just makes people feel better. And and the doctor in me doesn't like that very much, but I do understand.
Yeah. Yeah. And so if you were to give us some advice, encouragement, health tip, what might you add to all of that for us as a people?
I won't tell you anything you haven't heard already. Wash your hands and stay 6 feet apart. I mean, that's really the main gist. But the thing that's different maybe than what you'll hear from CNN or Fox or whatever the news source that you're listening to is this is if you look at the way natural disasters occur, and this is certainly a natural disaster, it's also an economic disaster. Yeah. So many people out of work, vulnerable populations, especially the populations we serve at KA, especially.
Yeah.
This is that everybody at the beginning has kind of the hero mentality. We're going to go in, we're going to conquer this. Adrenaline's high. Everyone is supportive of everyone else, but that wears off as people get tired, and people are now tired.
Yeah.
And what that leads to is disillusionment, non-belief, a little bit of rejection of what is true, what's not true, and people really tend to get start leaning toward despair. So this is the time to lift each other up. This is the time to pray for each other, to go out of your way to help somebody else. Okay. Make sure you're kind to one another, and if at the end of every day, if you can just think of 2 or 3 things good that happened at the end of every day instead of focusing on the struggle of the day, it is amazing how over the course of a week or two, your point of view starts to change.
Mhm.
It's basically count your blessings, right?
That is really good. That is really good. That's good advice and good encouragement, because the Lord certainly tells us to do that. Give thanks in all things. And so I appreciate that word. I appreciate that encouragement. And I appreciate you taking time out of your busy, busy schedule to let KA family meet you, and just to know the great work that you've been doing here and in Columbia. So we
We miss you
greatly
all.
appreciate it. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you.
right.
We'll see you.